Hello, everyone. Welcome to our themes for 2025 message from the Masters. Super excited to be here with you. The start of another year. Can we believe it's come around again so quickly? I can. If you're anything like me, you were getting to the end of 2024 and really wanting wanting that new solar year to begin again. And I'm delighted to have so many people with us live today from all around the world. So thank you for taking a moment out of your day and your reality to be here and to bring your presence and your energy to this space. We heard a beautiful message just a few days ago from the Masters to our membership community, where they were suggesting that every time we are truly present, we are in effect intercepting reality and acting as a window and a portal to see new things and discover new possibilities for our earth reality. So here we are all gathering in presence today, creating a window for something new for 2025 and beyond. So once again, thank you for being here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rebecca. I've been working with a team of masters for over 30 years. And I'm very excited to be bringing this message to you today. On that note, we do want to just send an extra special blessing and embrace to all of our friends in Los Angeles at this time who are having a rather transformational week with the events that are happening there, with the landscape and with people's realities and experiences. So, embracing you and holding you in our hearts during this challenging time for many of you. All right. So, just give me a moment and I'm just going to go in a little bit deeper, bring the masters forth and see what they have for us. Blessed ones, greetings to you. We are with you. All of you know what it is to feel anticipation. And in many regards, anticipation can either be what humans would call a blessing or a curse. Because where there is an anticipation, there is a rising of energy. And indeed, in anticipation, there is often expectation. All of you have been feeling an anticipation for the coming of a new era, the rising of consciousness within humanity. And for many of you, you have been feeling an anticipation of optimism. And for many of you, there's been an anticipation of impending disaster. What you do know and what you are clear about in your wisdom, dear ones, is that you are anticipating an increase in intensity. And we've spoken about intensity many times in recent years because the hallmark of an expanding consciousness is an increase in the experience of intensity. The more conscious you are, the more you sense intensity. So the anticipation you're experiencing at this time, it's wise for you to realize that that is an energy of intensity, and you have the sovereignty within which you can create. So intensity itself is an accumulation of energy within your field of reference. And when you begin to feel that anticipation, you begin to feel that anticipation for change. It's wise for you to begin to direct it into a feeling of excitement. I wonder what is going to happen next. Because when anticipation is unqualified, in other words, when anticipation is accumulation of energy and we know not what it is for, it has the ability to become neutralized. And in your capacity as a human to create new realities, this neutralized energy can then be directed into discovery and wonder. How this appears, perhaps in a practical sense for you as a human, is that you can feel I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm waiting for something to happen. I can feel that changes are happening. I don't know what's going to happen. That can become a how interesting intensification of energy is happening here. There is an accumulation of energy that is occurring within my field because something new is going to be created. And in that way, this intensification becomes something that you find exhilarating because it is a garnering in many regards. It is a gathering, and it's a gathering of momentum. So, this is the year in many ways for momentum because this is where all of that intensification you've been feeling and having nowhere to put it starts to accumulate to such an extent that it begins to spill over. And how that spills over is through spontaneous, you may call it eruptions. Now, you may say to us, well, I do not like spontaneous eruptions because I do not like to feel as if I'm out of control. But spontaneous eruptions can be sudden declarations of truth. They can be an overflow of emotion that has been sitting within your system unexpressed. It can be new ideas, new thoughts, new desires, new motivations that now begin to become expressed. And it becomes almost impossible not to express them because the intensification is occurring in your field to such an extent that it can no longer become contained. And this is where the cup runneth over. Because intensity is not something that is, in our view, to be moved away from. Intensity is something to really do something with. When your own cup is full, it runneth over. And in this regard, when the intensity and the anticipation runneth over in you, and you begin to express, perhaps spontaneously, what you didn't even know was there, this is where you begin to ignite inspiration with others. And this is the cup runneth over. And this is a very important theme in 2025 because this is the year where you have so much to express, but it does not deplete you. And the more that your cup runneth over with intensity and with enthusiasm and with newness, the more you seem to fill up again. So it's wise for you to become very used to these waves of intensity. Humanity is no longer sitting in an experience whereby peace is the end. And what we mean by that is so much of what you would call the New Age or the era of the Gnostic expansion led humans to a place where they wish to reside in peace. And the goal for humanity is peace. What we would say is that peace is a focal point for your energy that then lends and ignites an experience of intensity. One must arrive in a place of peace for that intensity to begin to bloom. And that intensity is what we call joy, and it is also what we call inspiration, and it is also what we call creation. So 2025, in our view, is not a year where you will be focusing on sustaining a sense of peace. Indeed, the practice of peace and your awareness of the state of peace that exists within and is always present in the great I am will rather be a wonderful doorway for you and a wonderful switch for you to move into joy and creation. And therefore, it can be perhaps more difficult for you to stay in a state of peace, perhaps more so in 2025 than it has ever been before, because peace now is wanting to have that cup spilleth over. And so the still waters within you are now beginning to run. So, what this means for you in a practical sense is that more of your systems of operation will be flowing over. So, in a personal sense, your emotions will be running more easily, which means there's less stagnation, but it also means that you're likely to feel much more emotional, but in a way that feels as if there is flow, which means in your communications and your ideas and your expressions, there is more depth to them, there is more water to them. And where there is water, there is wisdom. And you know that it is the waters that carve out new river systems and pathways and sustain this planet, which means that in 2025, the expressions of humanity are going to be, in our view, deeper. Communications are deeper. Ideas are deeper because they're imbued with this overflow of energy that rises out of the eternal spring of consciousness that is you. This is the appearance of consciousness now as an everlasting source of each and every human. So, this intensity that is imbued within your communications is also arising in your thoughts. There is more depth of thought. There is less scattering of thought that many awakening humans have been experiencing in the last 8 to 15 years as the new synaptic connections have becoming established within the mind, brain, and nervous system of the human biological expression. Which means that rather than this experience you've been having in the past 8 to 15 years about I'm focusing on this and now this and then this and then this and then this is gradually now shifting into an establishment of thought systems whereby there is more depth to what it is that you are focusing on. Now, hear our words carefully when we say to you, that does not mean to say that your depth is focused on a very narrow, narrow selection of thoughts. Because depth of thought traditionally, as you've known it in third, fourth density for humans, has been about let us focus on one thing and investigate it very deeply. The emergence of fifth dimensionality in your consciousness and your mental capacity and systems for thought meant that you now had to expand that out. And now we're focused on this, and now this, and now this, and now this, and then this. A scattering of attention. But now that the cup runneth over with your consciousness, that capacity to have multiple views, you now have the ability to hold that in depth and to deepen your view and your thoughts and your perceptions of that multiplied view. And this is where systems of thought, new systems of awareness, new systems of organization begin to become established. Because this is where you can have depth of perception, depth of thought, depth of expression while holding multiple points of awareness simultaneously. That's the establishment of new structure. And indeed, in 2025, you begin to see this embodied in your technological and innovative systems with the visibility arising of systems that have the capacity to move into depth with multiple perspectives of views simultaneously. It is important in this moment to realize, of course, that all technology that is being developed at this time to afford and to display such depth of perception is, of course, a demonstration externally of the human capacity. Because remember, you are at the center of your reality, and the consciousness within you is creating this view. And therefore, if it was not of your consciousness for this depth of perception to be possible, you would not be viewing certain seemingly externalized technological systems demonstrate this prowess in your field of reference. So 2025 is the year in which you begin to view and comes into visibility the systems of depth of perception. And alongside these systems of depth of perception, of course, is humanity, because humanity are the pillars upon which this system of depth of perception is generated. Let us be very clear that it is not generated through externalized systems of technology, such as what you call your computing systems or what you call AI, but rather it is developing within the collective human consciousness, and therefore it is appearing within your reality in your externalized view. It's always important to realize that technology in your Earth reality cannot supersede or overtake human consciousness in our view, but rather it can continue to lead the way to demonstrate what humanity's consciousness is capable of. So, if this is indeed the perception that is available for you in 2025, you have much anticipation that is occurring within you of new things becoming visible. And we have mentioned in recent days that 2025 is the year where seeing is believing, which is going to be a wonderful new experience for many of you who have been experiencing in the past 15 years or so a very in depth apprenticeship, if you will, in believing before you're seeing. And of course, this is incredibly important in a paradigm shift of consciousness because humans must come to understand the prowess and the potency and the magnificence of your own ability to create reality. Therefore, it's been very important for you all to have an intensified experience of, I must believe it, regardless of whether or not I can see it. I must believe that this is true, even if I have no external evidence for it. And now that you are so clear about the reality of your own existence, now you really, really believe in the consciousness that you are. Now you really, really believe that there is a permeating consciousness in all things that expresses itself as you, of you, through you. Now, the majority of Earth reality is moving into an experience once again where the seeing is the believing. So this is the year also where new beliefs are generated. And new beliefs are generated because new things are becoming viewed. Yes, this is an incredible cultural shift in 2025. And it's not cultural shift in belief in terms of ethnicity or locality. It's a cultural shift in belief based upon the capacity of the human. And this, of course, is the great evolutionary leap, because without belief, it's very difficult for a consensus reality, what many humans would call the new earth reality, a consensus reality to be created. So you've all been in experiences of having your own personal realities, which is, of course, where you feel very empowered as a creator. This is what I'm creating in my experience. This is what I believe. And now humanity has an opportunity that you begin to see the seeds take sprout with in 2025, where consensus reality is being reignited with a new set of beliefs based upon what is being viewed. Now, this isn't necessarily about what you are choosing to view, because we can hear the questions in this moment. And the question in this moment is, well, if I choose to view something expansive and something you might call positive, we don't really enjoy these polarity terms. However, if you're focusing on viewing something positive, you're going to generate a reality that's positive. Let us say that this is more in alignment with an example where there is a consensus reality based on something new appearing, people are seeing it, and so now they believe it, and therefore more of it can be generated. And so those new seeings and these new glimpses and these more new views are thematically within the vibration of human consciousness, thematically around human capacity. What is the human capable of? And it may seem that it is viewed more easily through an externalized innovation, an externalized event, an externalized system. But it's very important, dear ones, that you are asking yourself the question and reminding yourself in these appearances of new things, Is this an extension of human awareness? Is this existing because human consciousness is now expanding enough to be able to accommodate that belief? Always bring it back to the power of the creator human. This is very important because if you are diligent about bringing everything that appears to be new in view back to the empowerment of the human that is viewing it, you are less likely to become disempowered and you are less likely to feel overwhelmed by the enormity and the sophistication of what begins to be viewed in 2025. So, we very much suggest to you that when new things begin to become visible, oh, this must mean that human consciousness is expanding enough for this view. This must mean that my own personal consciousness is expanding enough for this view. So, new innovation, new events, new ideologies, new systems, and new structures. Important to remind yourselves once again that the sustainable systems and structures for the new era of humanity are based upon systems of resonance. And therefore, your interactions as humans with each other and within your community are also based upon resonance. We have said that 2024 was the year of the pioneer. And we will say that 2025 is the year of recognition. Recognition. You can hear that in that word recognition, there is the word cognition, understanding what it is that you are seeing, but there is also the word ignition, recognition. And we want you to be very clear that recognition is an ignition. Because when you recognize something, and you're not recognizing it as something beyond yourself, but you're recognizing it as an indicator of evolution. If you're recognizing it as an indicator, something new is happening. If you're recognizing another human, I see you and I see how you are expanding and I acknowledge your evolution. That's recognition. You're actually vibrationally, in a vibrationary way, you are assisting in the establishment of new resonant systems for belief on the planet. Now, you may say to us, well, I've been working very diligently in recent years about dismantling all of my beliefs. And for many of you, that is true, and you are to be congratulated. But at this time, your presence in this earth reality and your ability to be present allows new beliefs to be generated. Because the cultural nature of humanity and its ability to create systems and structures and new evolutionary tools for creation is based upon shared understanding. And shared understanding begins with this recognition. And recognition is a very simple practice because it's a very simple practice in declaration. I see you, I recognize you. I see that this is something new. I see that there are things that are beginning to happen that haven't happened before. I see that that tree has a new leaf on it. I see that this person is trying something new. And just in that declaration, in the sense of stillness that you have, and from that stillness with the anticipation overflowing, remember the cup overflowing, there is an intensity in that declaration. And the intensity in that declaration brings depth to the expression, depth to the view. And it is akin to putting a stake in the ground. It is akin to anchoring a new network of belief. It is akin to anchoring and establishing new networks and structures for stability on your planet that are based around a consensus reality for new. And the sense of confidence that you have around the new, and the sense of ease that you have around the new enables collective consciousness of humanity to really begin to embrace the true nature of creative capacity that is the human hallmark. Because all of you know that humanity has had a more recent history and more recent thousands of years around being very suspicious of the new, around being afraid of the new. So this is all about now developing new vibratory systems that are very much interested in establishing a sense of stability with this recognition. So this year, 2025, the year of recognition, also means that there will be many things that are happening within your reality that you seem to feel as if you already know. So even if it's completely new to you, oh, this is completely new, but within myself, I feel as if I already know this. Within myself, I feel as if, of course, that makes sense. Within yourself, you feel as if you're not so disrupted by it. Because there is an essence and a knowing of the consciousness within you that humanity is, to coin a phrase, right on track. And this year of recognition can be a year of embrace with each other. I recognize you. I recognize that this shift is happening. I recognize that all of this intensity is happening. And that's that sense of stability. Because if it's recognized, you're not really afraid of it. Even with the fires that are happening, there can be a sense of recognition with it. We have heard many humans say in recent days, it seems as a disaster, yes. It seems that many things have been lost, yes. And yet I recognize that this is deeply transformational for all who are involved. Interesting, because that's that sense of stability and that depth of perception that that overflow from anticipation now begins to create. So all of you, as you have been playing with new things and you've been the pioneer in 2024, you have seen enough and given yourself enough opportunity to feel free to explore that you can now feel more comfortable with giving yourself the depth of perception with what you are exploring. Now, that doesn't mean that you give all of your energy to it. This is a very common question that humans bring to us, is when I move into intensity with something and I move into focus with something, how do I bring myself to it without feeling depleted? How do I engage with intensity without feeling burned out? Isn't that interesting? So, what many humans will do is that they believe that if they are in intensity, that they have to donate that energy elsewhere. We have all of this energy building up inside of us, and we must direct it somewhere. And when we direct it somewhere, now we're depleted. And we have to fill up again and we have to recharge before we disperse this intensity. Yet when you are the eternal spring of consciousness and you feel the cup fill within you, you are not required to empty yourself out, but rather to allow the overflow to occur. And when the overflow occurs, you now begin to feel a flow of energy that moves through you that is eternal. Because what you realize is that your ability to express and overflow is now your sense of vitality. And this is where your depth of perception and your intensity of expression now becomes something that revitalizes you rather than depletes you. And the key difference here is that you're not sending energy anywhere, but rather you're turning on the flow of your natural state of expression as creator beings through the intensity of depth of perception. In this way, it makes you a very, very powerful and effective communicator, inspirer, and source of innovation and new ideas yourself. It makes you a very, very potent and powerful presence in any room or building or area because the intensity of your vibration is felt. So it's not a question of being dysregulated. Dysregulation occurs when you build up intensity and then you give it away or you direct it towards something rather than it is now flowing. Just like a fountain, it needs to build up intensity to get that flow moving. And then it has a sense of vitality to it. That, that flow of intensity is what keeps the spring alive. And when the spring is alive, it attracts life to it. A stagnant pool will draw very few, but a fountain, an eternal spring, will draw many. The spring itself is never depleted because it gives nothing away. It only invites others to experience it. In other words, you become self sustaining. And in this way, dear ones, your intensity in 2025 is what will sustain you. Indeed, many of you are beginning to experience this because when you're not feeling that anticipation energy and when you're not feeling as if there is intensity rising, many of you feel as if you have no sense of life essence at all. This has been a very grand shift for many of you, particularly within the last 18 months. Because you used to want to always rest. I want to take it easy. I want to relax. I'm feeling burned out. And what you're discovering now is that if you're not in that flow of intensity, it's difficult for you to feel as if you are even alive. And there is a question here, are there practices that you can play with to strengthen the capacity of staying in the flow? Well, it's really a question of knowing that when you feel that intensity rise within you and it's feeling uncomfortable to you, it's because it's either accumulating so that you can give it away or get rid of it, or it's accumulating and it's not being expressed. So that's where authenticity is really key because when you're being authentic, you're in flow. I can feel it. This is how I feel about this, and I'm very intense about it. But when you're in flow, it's just authenticity. Authenticity doesn't need to be disruptive when you are in flow. Authenticity only appears to be disruptive or feels disruptive for yourself when it's in bursts and sputters, just like when you first turn a fountain on after the faucet's been off for a long time. Perhaps the pipes are rusted or frozen, and there's a sputter and a bit of a start, and it can appear to be disruptive both to yourself and to others. But if you are in authenticity, and authenticity is now your regulation, that flow of intensity just looks like a very, very healthy spring of consciousness that enables you to experience and to be aware of more. So when you're experiencing anxiety, for example, that is often when that anticipation is not being expressed. And when that anticipation is not being expressed, it's usually because on its way out, it's stopped by the mind, and the mind says, well, let us think about this first. Let us qualify it. Let us think about where this came from. Is it valid? Does it need to be expressed? Why is it happening? And so on. So the mind acts as a valve that often stops that intensity from being expressed in an authentic way because it wants to rationalize it, decide whether or not it has value, yes, and then decide whether or not it's going to be disruptive. That's your anxiety. Your anxiety is when the mind attempts to shut off your authenticity. So, again, this is recognition of your own experience. 2025 is recognition. It's very important also to be able to experience the recognition of that intensity in others. You have an opportunity to express this in such a way that it can assist others become more at ease with their own sense of anticipation. Because what you view in your earth reality is an incredibly amplified experience of anxiety because humans are feeling this anticipation, but they don't have anything to rationalize it. Just like you have experienced. I feel like I'm on the edge of the seat of my seat, but I don't know where to put this. I don't know what it's for. I don't know why all of this energy is rising within me. And so it's felt as anxiety because the mind cannot qualify it. The mind doesn't know what it is. So your ability to recognize that in others and perhaps say, well, they're in anxiety. Is it because they're really worried about things? Or is it because they have all of this energy inside them and they don't know what it is? So they're going to assign it to worrying about things because that's what the mind does. It tries to qualify and account for that energy. Your ability to recognize that in others can actually begin to establish your depth of perception about what's happening and can begin to create a system of collective experience, a consensus reality where humans begin to realize I have all of this energy within me and I'm not giving myself permission to express it in a way that enables me to function to my optimum capacity. So, this is how we begin our message with you on this day, 2025, the year of recognition, where seeing is believing. And you have an incredible part to play in establishing belief for this new earth experience because you are here. It is happening. It is now. So it's no longer about crossing the threshold. Here we are. Now it's about creating new systems of resonance, and it begins with belief. And as we have said at the beginning of our message, you are all very practiced with believing and then seeing. Now you have an opportunity to participate with recognition that establishes belief. And so, therefore, we invite you to look for new things. Feel the energy and authenticity within your body, anticipate and flow over, express freely, and deepen your perception of what it is that you are viewing. Is this an indication of the evolution of human consciousness? Is this an indication of the amplification of your own consciousness in this reality? Are you seeing things like this in new ways because you are expanding and evolving in your own experience? And that's how you begin to generate a consensus reality that is very much about the evolution of humanity, because that's what we're interested in. There's a question. How can we best support our children to understand this intensity? Well, in a very similar way of what we have described. It's no different. Children can feel even more clearly because their valves are not as automated. The mind brain valve is not as automated as yours yet. So they have an opportunity to feel it rising within themselves. How does it want to come out? If they are not afraid of it and they are not afraid of their energy, it no longer needs to come out necessarily as anger or rage or fear. It can just come out as free thought, because children are often in a sense of anxiety or stress because they do not feel that they are qualified or justified in their thoughts and in their views. So this is about flow. Where there is flow, there is no sputtering. There are no explosions. There is just an incredible deepening of vitality. This is a deepening of vitality, a deepening of perception, a deepening of presence, a deepening of human awareness. Here's a question. Many other channelers are talking about an encounter with other vibrations, ETs, beings. Is this part of the events that will create new beliefs and amplification of our consciousness? Likely. Likely. Remember, seeing is believing. Why are we saying this to you? Seeing is believing. This is the year of recognition. And that can appear in the ordinary, in the everyday encounter with other humans. I see you. I see what is happening here. It can occur in things that defy traditional beliefs, such as what you have just expressed. In both microcosmic and macrocosmic ways, in both personal and collective ways, seeing is believing in 2025. Here is a question. The masters frequently speak to presence as the central piece to manifestation. In presence, we magnetize to us what is desired. When we aren't experiencing this magnetism and outcome, what is happening? My human mind can't seem to make sense of this. Well, this is really a question about manifesting. And what we would say is that manifestation in 2025 is less about knowing what you want, and it's more about moving into this continual flow. That's the reason we are speaking of it so potently within this conversation, because presence itself does not magnetize you. Presence itself wants nothing. It is the true human capacity that magnetizes your reality, because that is the design of the human and the design of your earth reality, both in third dimensional reality and fifth dimensional reality. What we would say to you is that when you move into a state of presence, there is no desire at all, but there is a great capacity for recognition. Here's that word again. Because when you're in presence, I see things, it's clear, it is as it is. And when you're in a state of presence, there is not a state of desire, there is only a state of recognition. It is as it is as it is. And from that state of recognition, that's like clearing the fountain. The state of recognition and the state of presence, it is as it is. There's nothing we want in this moment. That's the clarity. That's what clears the blockages in the fountain, and then it can start running again. So, again, presence enables you to feel the capacity of yourself again, to start to feel yourself as consciousness in motion, perhaps the toroidal effect, yes? Perhaps to feel yourself in your magnetic state as a human, and from there, the inspiration for what it is that you perhaps are inspired to create, or inspired to focus upon, or inspired to declare, or inspired to express come from there. That is how we answer your question. About the flow that you mentioned, lately I've been feeling potent flow when sitting cross-legged. Can you speak on why? Does it have to do with sacred geometry? We would say it has to do with your focus, because your flow can be felt no matter what position you are in. Yes, but you give yourself permission to become more aware of your body when you are in that state. When you are in that state, you can feel more of your body. You are aware of it more. Another teacher has always taught that believing is seeing, and so have we, that believing comes first. That is so. But what we are saying is that this is a year of an establishment of a new consensus and collective reality. And therefore, this is the year where the majority of humanity will see it and then believe it, because this is still the nature of the human mind. You have an incredible part to play with this consciously by recognizing what it is that you see. So, of course, all of you still have the capacity that believing is seeing, but this is the year collectively for humanity where seeing will be believing. It's a very powerful year for that manifestation. When you spend time on the definition of resonance, well, resonance is also recognition. Yes, you could be the year of resonance, but we are very deliberate in choosing the word recognition. So recognition is when you recognize something in another. That is resonance. Vibration, in a vibrationary sense, it is one aspect of life recognizing and greeting itself in another. It is the same as namaste. The essence in me greets the essence in you. So your ability to recognize consciousness in another human, your ability to recognize commonality in another human, your ability to recognize that flow of energy within another human is all an experience of resonance. We have often spoken about the new systems and structures within the earth reality that is unfolding for you, and they are all based upon systems of resonance. Of course, it will begin within the technological advances of what you call your externalized computing systems that will demonstrate how systems of resonance can be created and how they can in turn create. But that, again, of course, as we have alluded to, is an externalized view of the capacity of the human. Humanity itself has an incredible capacity to create systems of resonance through your recognition of each other. And therefore, the reorganization of your planet very much depends upon, in our view, the ability for humans to reorganize and reestablish and create new systems and structures of recognition with each other. And this is how new migratory patterns begin. This is how new nations occur. This is how new communities gather, because you each recognize in each other something of commonality, or something that's inspiring, or something that, yes, we agree, or something, yes, you feel familiar to me. Yes, there is resonance here, and that begins to become the underpinnings, the linchpins, the stakes in the ground for new systems. Humanity is the foundation of the capacity for systems in your reality. Don't forget, the way you are with each other is a system. It has not been embraced nor potentialized for at least 200,000 years. And humanity has instead been organized into alternate systems that do not encourage or account for the system of recognition and resonance that is incredibly important part of how humans are actually designed to create, not just individually, but collectively. And if humans can remember how to create collectively, you become very powerful as a species, as a consciousness indeed. And that's the next shift in evolution. But it's this ability to use recognition or resonance to reorganize yourselves that reignites that flow of authenticity that enables you to remember, oh, this is how we create consensus and collective reality. Interesting. How is this going to play out in the experience of the body? It feels like it will be intense and very new in how we feel in our physicality. Yes. And when we speak about that fountain, we're also being quite practical in how you feel it within your body, because many of you are already beginning to feel a lot of pressure in what you would call the heart center and through the esophagus and up through the neck. So many of you are already beginning to feel this. And what you realize is that even within the intestinal tract that's moving up in the body and into the chest and into the throat, that as soon as you become aware, how authentic can I be in this moment? Can I relax with this intensity and allow it to flow? You begin to realize that there are certain beliefs and restrictions about how you express and who you believe yourself to be that are acting as valves within your body. The mind is one, but there are many other mechanisms within your body that you have developed through your shared and collective beliefs that are designed to prevent you from organizing into systems of resonance and instead keep you in structured hierarchical systems of focus and attention. Does this recognition include with those who have passed over? Yes. How will the new financial systems and structures appear in 2025? Well, they'll begin to appear, in our view, in two ways. Firstly, through the reorganization of recognition of human communities, because the reorganization and recognition of human communities that may seem as if perhaps through certain events they are forced, and yet they are not, they are a gathering. And also certain communities that begin to gather about shared belief. These human systems, of course, begin to become the foundation for the new financial systems. So you may say to us, well, we're waiting for the financial systems to appear, and then we will know that we have evolved. That is the seeing is believing. But remember that the underpinning, the foundation, the stakes in the ground for all of these new systems are the reorganization of humanity through recognition. So they will appear more in terms of how humanity is becoming reorganized rather than, oh, this is a completely new system that's going to appear. Now, we're not saying that there won't be a new system that will appear. It's being developed at this time. It is being tested at this time. It is in existence at this time. But remember, as it appears, it'll be the believing of it that is the shift of the human collective consciousness. And what we would say is that it will only be introduced at that moment or within those vibratory conditions whereby the consensus reality for humanity can see it. And what we mean by that is that there are oftentimes things that are introduced and only a proportion of humanity can see it. Oh, it's known to these people. Oh, these people know about this. Oh, this group of humans is aware of this, but this group of humans, the majority, are not. And so when it comes to new financial systems and structures, what we would say is that they are being developed and they are being generated and are to many degrees of reality in existence, but there is something about the collective experience of humanity in consensus seeing and believing that is, in our view, a very powerful shift into something completely new. That's all we would wish to say about it at this time. We would not say that it will be a completely huge announcement or a shake up or move over in 2025 because it's that consensus agreement and recognition that we are anticipating, not in 2025, however. The electricity of my body has changed. It is much higher and it discharged when I touch things 20 times per day. How to balance it? Well, this is very interesting because if you have, in our view, this experience of a high degree of electricity within your body, it would suggest to us that you are in an experience where you're feeling this intensity, but you're not feeling flow. And part of this experience, and this is for many of you, is that you're feeling as if in many ways you're supercharged with your consciousness at this time. Some of you, that's through a sense of anxiety. Some of you, through it's a sense of anticipation. Some of it, you are just feeling very empowered at this time. But the human belief is that this needs somewhere to go. And what we would really encourage you to focus on, the one who is asking the question, is how can I circulate this around in my own field? Play with it. How can I feel this energy and actually circulate it around in my own field? Because you know that electricity, within your reality, electricity and the electromagnetic field occur within the same symbiotic relationship, perhaps. What we would suggest is that you would focus more on your feeling state of the magnetic flow of your energy and how this electrical charge that you are feeling is generating a magnetic flow. So that is where the focus is. And of course, once you begin to feel it, you begin to see it, you start to believe it, it completely changes the experience of your own energy. There are many that have asked the question about politics and geopolitics. Let us say this to you. There are many events that will begin to occur in 2025, perhaps subtle in the beginning, but escalating, particularly towards September, October 2025, that are really going to encourage humans to begin to recognize each other and embrace each other. And this embracing can be felt in a sense of commonality. What do we mean by this? It means that people will, in essence, become less identifiable with their nation and with their politics and more identifiable with, oh, you're experiencing that there too. We're experiencing that here also. And this is also in regard to how political leaders are viewed in terms of how policy is viewed, in terms of how governmental response to certain events and situations are viewed, where that camaraderie and that recognition is shared and recognized regardless of what political environment you're in. And that's going to be very interesting because not only does it enable compassion to rise more easily between cultural and national environments, It also means that you begin to recognize each other as all actually in a very similar situation, even though it looks a little bit different, sounds a little bit different, walks and talks a little bit different. It all is a little bit the same. And so that's when humans begin to really embrace and start to see we are all in the same experience. Perhaps we are all in the same predicament. Perhaps we are all in the same reality. Perhaps our consciousness is all the same. Perhaps all of us are beginning to awaken. And we begin to really identify and see each other as humans. Yes, shared experience, recognition for what each other is going through, which means that many experiences that you have perhaps seen as isolated to a particular part of the planet or a particular culture now start to show up everywhere. And that doesn't mean to say that that's terrible. It doesn't mean to say that that's a disaster or that that's going to cause chaos or stress necessarily, but it can be a recognition of pattern. Oh, it's the same everywhere. Now, there are those that would say, oh, this is the same everywhere. We all need to rise up. We all need to move against this. We all need to rebel. We all need to be activists. It's more there is an awareness and a recognition here that humanity is actually moving into an experience where collectively we're all beginning to experience the same thing. And where humanity actually begins to realize that we're all humans, we're all beginning to experience the same thing. There is a natural reorganization, there is a natural shift in power, there is a natural shift into sovereignty, because you're no longer seeing yourself as a separate group. You're now seeing yourselves as humans. And that may appear as very subtle in 2025, but it's an incredible shift and depth in perception. Remember, we spoke about how moving from 3D to 5D was about moving from tunnel vision focus to many different directions simultaneously. And now the depth of perception means that you now begin to see the depth of your fellow humans. You now begin to see the depth in the commonality. You now begin to see the depth in the systems on the planet that have been evolving culturally and politically. And so there is now a depth of perception where it's less about the survival of the individual and it's less about, well, this is our group, this is how we do it. You're doing that over there, you stay over there. There's much more of a deepening of that expanded view. And of course, that is evolution because that's where humans begin to identify themselves as part of an expanded network of consciousness rather than isolated pockets that are dealing with issues of control, either geopolitically or geographically. Yes, a true coming into oneness. It is unifying because the deeper you go with your expanded perception, the more you begin to see how it's all connected. Yes. So this is our message for you. It is a year 2025 of recognition. It's a year of a depth of expanded consciousness. It's a year for the spilling over of the intensity that you feel so that authenticity and continual expression becomes your vitality. It is less about giving away your energy and more about the self sustainability of that intensity because you are intense. Humans are intense. Consciousness is intense. Peace, dear ones, is the doorway. Peace is the bloom, and when it opens, the fragrance is joy, and from that is the creation itself. So, blessed ones, we say this unto you, welcome. We recognize you. Perhaps you recognize us. In the depth and intensity of our perception at this time, we embrace you with us as one. It is our great joy to be with you in this way. May you all recognize, may you all see, and may you all generate new belief for the humanity that we are so in love with. Peace be with you. Oh, well, thank you so much, everyone, for your beautiful presence. I really felt you all. What a wonderful conversation we all created together today. Thank you for your questions. I know I didn't get to all of them. I did do my best. Thank you to all who did contribute their questions tonight so that we could gain more depth of wisdom and share that with each other. Excited to be here with you in 2025. We have a new series coming up over the next month, which you will get an email for soon. And the masters are going to be speaking about the new body and how the functioning of our body and what we think all of our organs and functionalities of form might be a little bit different to what we had believed. So if that's interesting to you, look out for an invitation to that soon. I'd also like to invite those of you who are interested to come and meet me and say hello. I'm going to be in Los Angeles at the Conscious Life Expo on Saturday, the 8th of February. I'd love to see you there. If you'd like to come up and say hi, that would be great. I'll be there in person doing a few things that day. More information on the website. And if you're interested, come join our community where we do webinars just like this one every month and have discussion groups and share lots of wisdom and insight from the masters. But thank you so much for joining us today for this beautiful message. I'm excited to see how the year will unfold. I'm sending all my love and peace and joy to you at this time because it's spilling over. And wishing you all a beautiful day. Look forward to exploring with you again very soon. Bye, everyone.